modes in GIMP. So step one, I'm going to open up my GIMP and open up a new project. I'm not going to worry about the size right now, although if you are working on your background project for the video gaming design class, you need to make sure that the size is correct. The size is noted in the assignment. This will help with importing it into Bootstrap correctly. Okay, so today we're going to go over both filters and modes. I did talk about filters a little bit today in the Adobe Connect session. I apologize, this is not going to be the most amazing image in the world, but that's all right. So the filters are another creative way to make interesting effects in your image. If you go up to the top where it says filters, click on filters, you can come down and you have lots of different options. And again, my philosophy is always to just play. The more you play, the more you try things out, the more you'll learn. If I went through every single one of these, it would be probably very boring for you. Much more interesting to just try them out yourself. But I will go over a few of them just so you can see what the filters, some of the possibilities that the filters have. So if I choose artistic, and I'm going to choose glass tile, it pops up another box here. If I scroll down so I can see my marks a little bit, it gives me some different options with this filter with width and height. Right now they're linked together. I can unlink them and change the width versus height separately, and that also gives you more options of how you would want it to look. When I choose the correct effect that I want, I click OK, and it changes your image on your project. I'm going to open up, oops, that is not a new layer. Sorry for a second here. There we go. Open up a new layer. Again, if you're working on this for your assignment, make sure you name that layer correctly. That will help you get back to it if you want to change things just on that layer. For now, I'm not worrying about it. So I'm going to make a few more marks here, just some scribbles with my paintbrush. Let's try one more filter. Let's distort it. And how about we try polar coordinates? Let's see what happens here. So if I change the depth in percent, you can see how it's affecting the image, the line. So what it's doing with the polar coordinates is it's just pulling it in different directions. Again, you can just play with these different settings, get the effect that you want. If you decide you don't like this effect at all, you can click cancel and get out of it. I'm going to say okay. I like this one. Oh, you can see how it overlapped. So if I want to, since it's on a separate layer, if I don't want it to overlap, I can go ahead and move it. This moves the whole layer, so it can be kind of an issue at times. So let's go back, not move it. We'll leave it as it is. We'll just start another layer here. And this time I am actually going to change my paintbrush size. The way I have my toolbox set up, my options are down here in the layers palette. Yours might be different, and depending on how you set your workspace up. I'm going to make it a really big brush, and I'm also going to change the color of it. I'm going to change it to red, and I'm going to go back to my layers, make sure I'm on the correct layer here. Okay, and I'm going to fill in a bunch of it here. Now you can see that it's sitting on top. If I didn't like that, again, I can move this layer down and have it sit underneath. Now it disappeared when it went all the way to the bottom because this background layer actually has white on it. So we'll take it up one layer. You can see that background peeking through a little bit. I'm going to do one more layer here. Again, I'm not naming them very well right now, so make sure you do that when you're working on your own. I am going to use the elliptical tool, and I'm going to fill it with a different color. Let's see, I'll choose a blue. Okay. And I'm going to fill it with a blue. Again, I can move this layer up or down if I want to, depending on where I want it set up in the layers. So for the modes, now that I have several layers that are interacting with one another, and you especially can tell the difference with the modes when you have lots of different colors going on. Let's try with just these 4 layers if the modes do much. If I am selecting this blue oval layer, right above it in the palette, you'll see mode, and right now it says normal. If I click under that normal, there's lots of different ways that you can blend the layers together. And that's kind of how I think about the mode options, is it's like taking all of those transparent layers and blending them and mushing them together to give different visual effects. So right now it's just normal. So the opacity, everything that's set for each specific layer is just in its normal mode. So if I try, let's say, oops, which one did I, darken only, that's what I ended up hitting. You can see now all 4 of those layers are starting to interact a little differently. I have selected just the blue oval layer, so that's where you're going to notice the main part of the connection that changes is in that blue oval area. If I clicked on the background layer down here and went to the modes and changed the mode from normal to say dissolve, that didn't do much. Let's try multiply. That still didn't do a whole lot. Again, some of these don't do as much change depending on how much information is in your different layers. We could try saturation. Still didn't do too much. So let's click on a different layer. Let's click on the red layer and let's try soft light. There you go. It changed it a lot. The red pretty much disappeared. You can see a little bit of it actually in between these little mosaic tiles. How about if we try difference? That changed it quite a bit. It actually took the red and turned it into an aqua color. And it also affected the layer above it, or sorry, the layer below it with these mosaics. It turned the black into red. You can see where the blue oval and the background layer with the little glass mosaics actually is more of a brown now. So the different modes, again, they just are like unique ways that these layers can interact with one another. But it can be kind of fun, again, to play with them and just see what happens. Of course, if you do this and you decide you don't like it, you can always go back to that normal mode on all of the different layers that you play with the modes. So you can always go back to the normal image if you want to, if you don't like it. So it's not set in stone, but it is really fun to play with. It's just another creative way to get some interesting effects. So again, play with your filters, see what happens. Make sure that anytime you play with a filter or a mode, you're clicked on whatever layer that you're trying to change. And play with modes and see what happens. See if you can find some interesting images that way. All right, thanks. Have fun.